I have an elder sister, so my mother wanted a second child, and my father was not wanting because already my mother had two miscarriages, so he was not very keen. My mother saw that it's a girl, and then she was agitated and she said, "Ki, I don't want her, so we should dump her in the hospital." We get taunts every now and then. लड़का होता तो मेरे लिए ये कर देता. When I die, बॉय चाइल्ड विल गिव मी फायर, नो, अग्नि जिसे कहते हैं. और तुम दोनों कैसे दोगे. सो वी ऑलवेज, दिस टॉन्ट यूज्ड टू ऑलवेज गो ऑन, एंड द बिगेस्ट टॉन्ट व्हिच यूज्ड टू गो ऑन इज who will carry forward the name, the surname. So I did not immediately go and start giving the exams, because I wanted the financial burden which was there on me, on my sister, to be okay. We both wanted to settle down our parents. Every woman who has become a mother, who is working, be it an IAS officer or in corporate sector, any sector, she is doing a wonderful job, and it's tough, and we are all managing.
Despite all the progress we have made in technology and innovation, societal mindsets still hold on to age old beliefs. Even today, many parents wish for at least one son to carry forward the family name, no matter how much their daughters achieve. Hello, everyone. I am Pallavi, and you are watching Indian Masterminds. Today, we have a very special guest, someone who faced this very challenge but turned it around with her incredible achievements. She has not only made her parents proud, but is also carrying their legacy forward in her own way. Let's welcome IS officer Ms. Sonjita Mohapatra and hear about her inspiring journey. First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and welcome to Indian Masterminds.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. So, ma'am, obviously, right now you are in Amravati as CEO. We'll talk about your experiences here, but before that, I want to know about your journey in becoming an IAS officer. I read somewhere that you said, I think in some, I don't know, some seminar or something, that your journey started from facing gender bias at birth. So I wanted to know about that. Like, what was it? Like you are second or third girl child, or what is it?
I am the fourth child of my parents. My mother lost two child during miscarriage. So so the my mother already had I have an elder sister, so my mother wanted a second child, and my father was not wanting because already my mother had two miscarriages, so he was not very keen. But my mother insisted a lot. Then she conceived. Then finally she conceived in the hope that it will be a boy child.
Right.
So when I born, my mother saw that it's a girl, and then she was agitated and she said, "Ki, I don't want her, so we should dump her in the hospital."
God.
So my sister is just 4 years old. So came, and then she saw me. So I was just a small child. So she was very excited, and she said, "I'll take her home. She'll be my doll. So I play with her." So that's the joke which goes on till date, that my mother wanted to dump me and my sister carried me home. So that is how it started. And then obviously throughout the journey, I have in my home, I have never felt the gender bias. So it was always, my parents were highly supportive of both of us. They wanted both of us to study. So they have worked, toiled very hard to uh, educate both of us. But initially, it's always there in the back of my mind, and my mother's, we get taunts every now and then. लड़का होता तो मेरे लिए ये कर देता. When I die, boy child will give me fire, no, अग्नि जिसे कहते हैं. और तुम दोनों कैसे दोगे. So we always, this taunt used to always go on, and the biggest taunt which used to go on is who will carry forward the name, the surname.
Right.
So me and my sister, we never our surname, so we carry forwarded their name also. So that's how the gender bias went on.
So it was the way you are explaining, it's like it was more on a lighter weight, because when I read the story, it felt कि it was something, जो generally आप
So
expect करते.
when I talked in the conference, I talked in this way. When you write about it, it becomes too serious.
Right. Huh. So now, you also, after finishing your studies, mechanical engineering, I vaguely remembered that when you cleared the exam, I interviewed you that time also, and you told me like you were, I think, only one or two females in your class because you were in mechanical engineering, something like that. So how was that experience being?
We had girls in mechanical engineering back then. It was there were quite a number of girls in the mechanical engineering, but it was rare. Matlab, it was everyone used to prefer computer science or electrical engineering where there were more girls, but mechanical engineering was always a male dominated kind of a thing. I had that experience when I joined SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited,
Right.
Rourkela Steel Plant. So I was the only girl. So I was given a charge of shift in charge in the morning.
Hmm.
So I was hardly 22 years old, and then I was in charge of a crew of mechanical men, no, who do the maintenance work. So they were in the range of 5 plus.
Hmm.
So they had to take from a 22-year-old girl.
Right.
So that too much of pressure, that how do I get it done by
Hmm.
them, no? They'll be like, कल की लड़की हमें क्या बताएगी कि ये बोल्ट कैसे टाइट करना है,
Right.
इसका क्या करना है. So then that was a very difficult place to establish myself.
Hmm.
So that took time, but when I did, my crew was very appreciative and supportive of me. There actually I had to put on effort. That
Okay.
is where I bias. That was the first time I experienced gender bias firsthand,
Hmm.
and that was a good experience, learning experience.
Right. I think it must be helping now also because it's still
Yes,
the female in administration is still very the number is still low. It's not, at par.
yes.
So ma'am, after you finished your mechanical engineering, you joined SAIL. So when did this idea of becoming a civil servant came on? And I think you also cracked the state PSC, PCS, and
Yes.
then UPSC. So tell me about that
So,
journey.
no, becoming an IAS officer was never one sudden decision. It was always a childhood dream. So
Mhm.
I was always wanting to become a collector. So it was like since childhood when I started writing what's the aim of my life, I
Mhm.
started writing the to become a collector. So it has always been there. Everything else was just a way to reach this goal.
Mhm.
So some of the other steps, like I wanted to do arts after 11th and 12th. My parents said, you don't earn money, you don't get a decent job if you do arts. We are
Mhm.
not wealthy enough to sustain you for even longer.
Right.
So they said ki do engineering, get a job, and then you do whatever you want to do.
Right. Huh.
So then I did. And then I did a job. I wanted to make my parents financially stable. I wanted to make myself financially stable. So I did not immediately go and start giving the exams because I wanted that financial burden which was there on me, on my sister, to be okay. We both wanted to settle down our parents. Again, that thing that मेरा लड़का होता तो मुझे देखता जिंदगी भर, no? So
So,
me and my sister decided that we'll make our parents self-sustainable. We will take take the burden of all their expenses. But
mhm.
they'll always लड़कियों से क्यों मांगे, हम अपनी
Mhm.
बेटियों से क्यों.
That
So if
happens.
that happens, so we thought we'll make them such sufficient that they'll never have to ask us.
Hmm.
So we decided to both build them a house so that they are self-sufficient with them. So these are all the decisions which we kept on taking. So I had to delay completely dedicating my preparation for UPSC. So UPSC was always my ultimate aim.
So I think I am guessing that you prepared while working in sale. It must
Yeah.
be a hectic job. So nowadays, so I think there are kind of 50-50. There are aspirants who, quit their job and then try and then prepare for UPSC. But then there are those who say, now after 1 2 attempt you should try getting one job because that gives you stability. But with your experience, what would you say? Having a job and preparing for UPSC, is that better, or leaving a job and completely focusing on UPSC if you are that much convinced that you'll get into it? What is better option, and how hard it is to juggle between both if you are doing a job and the preparation?
So everyone in their life are placed at different situation. Everyone is unique in the situation they are placed at. I cannot give a suggestion which will be applicable to anyone. I can tell my experience that why I chose what I chose. As I said, I wanted to make my parents self-sufficient. I needed the job. I needed financial security. I needed to settle down. So I had no choice but to do a job for 5 years and then do my preparation. So uh, it was difficult. It was quite difficult because I am a very dedicated person. If I am doing a job which is paying me, so I will do my job diligently. So 9 to 5 was complete work, but it was a 9 to 5 job. So I used to get back home at 6 o'clock so that I can study from 6 to 9 or 6 to 10. So those 4 hours are for me. The lunch break which was there, the lunch break was for current affairs. I'd wake up in the morning and finish up my newspaper before coming to office. So I used to do everything. So that is how I used to juggle my work and my plan the whole day so that I am able to do both. So if you have the luxury to completely study and then give the examination, it's well and fine, it's very good actually, but that should be restricted to 1 or 2 years. If you think that for 5 continuous years I'll keep on preparing and not qualifying, then that takes a toll on you. When I left my job in 2018 and gave my first serious attempt, I was nearly 27, 26 and half then. I have done 5 years and I could not qualify UPSC that year. I felt my world shatter. I felt कि मेरे से तो कुछ हो ही नहीं पाएगा, मैं कभी कुछ नहीं कर पाऊंगी. I literally felt at that moment कि ये तो मुझसे नहीं होगा. Up till that point, when I was leaving my job, I was so confident. कोई नहीं, ये नहीं हुआ तो कुछ और कर लेंगे. I'll do masters, I'll do something else. But when it did not happen, no, then the depression setting in or the reality sets in and you feel really dejected. लगता है कि दुनिया में सब कुछ बर्बाद है. So
Right.
that feeling is something you have to fight off again. I fought off that feeling. That was one of the reason why I gave state PSC, because I was feeling so depressed. I thought, let me give something else, maybe I'll do well. And when state PSC happened and I secured a good rank, it was a big moral booster. I knew I'm not lost, I'll reach
I'll make
somewhere.
you, yeah, you'll make your way. Right. So when you got, when the result came out, you were ranked 10, I guess. So,
Yeah.
and it was your first time, I think, first time you cleared the exam, like wholly. So,
Second, it was my second serious attempt.
um,
First, it is my fifth attempt in general,
mhm.
but first three I had given while I was in college. So I was very.
But the first time you cleared, because there are people now who people, or you can say successful candidates who sometimes give another attempt to boost up their rank. But this was your final attempt in which you got the rank 10. So were you expecting that rank 10?
No, no, absolutely not. I don't think so. Any of the UPS aspirant who has given the exam expects anything. I remember my interview was during COVID. It was peak July. We were wearing this mask, gloves, face mask, face shield, and they took our interview. I don't know even if they saw me what I was. So I came out of the interview hall. I called my husband and said, "I'm really sorry. This time it won't happen. I'm very sad." He said, "You just come back home." I went all alone to Delhi. He was in Mumbai. Then I went to Mumbai and then I went into depression. कि इस बार भी नहीं हो रहा है. So I don't know what to do. And then when the result day, I remember my husband was continuously checking. I was like, I am not going to check. I was watching the TV. He suddenly shouted shit. So and I was like, oh God, I thought that he must have checked my number and he did not find it.
Right.
So
And
I
that,
had the courage to ask him what happened. I stayed quiet. Then still I looked at him. He was staring at me for a reaction. I said, "What happened?" He said, I searched the number and it stopped on the first page. Your number, your rank is 10th. And then I was dumb. I was like, what was I expecting? It was something which you never expect. You want a rank 10 after, I know, 26 years of your struggle, 5 attempts, numerous setbacks. It was a big deal. It was a very big deal.
And how supportive was your husband during the
He
whole
was the only
journey?
person. So, from the start till the end, was completely, utterly 120% convinced कि तुम नहीं बनोगी तो कौन बनेगा. He was the only person who was saying that. So he has, I don't know, immense confidence on me. I don't have confidence on myself. I'm very low in confidence
Even
when it
when,
comes.
even
Even
now?
after getting to those, even now throughout Maharashtra, my district's rank in this is so low, I'll not be able to perform. He even pulls my
It's
leg now.
okay. So, ma'am, one more thing, and then I'll come to your journey after clearing UPSC. One thing or one advice you have taken from your journey that you won't suggest anyone to do it. Like this, if you are preparing for UPSC, don't do this.
Oh God, such pinpointing one specific thing.
You can give two, three. That's not a problem.
No, I think so. One was notes making. So initially, when I started my journey, I started making. I did a lot of trial and error of notes making, and everyone faces this problem. And after my rank, I remember many students asking, "Ma'am, how did you prepare notes?" I wanted to tell him that I have failed so many times. In 2018, when I could not clear mains because of just 8 marks, I remember I had made extensive notes, but I did not find time to revise my own notes. So that was one big mistake which I rectified in my 2019 attempt. I made my notes very crisp, very short. I was trying to focus कि जो चीज पढ़ रही हूँ मैं बुक में उसको फिर से अपने कॉपी में ना उतारो. So you have to rest how many sources you are following and how much you are supposed to study. Every syllabus का हर topic में I had frozen कि I will be focusing on only these 2 books and this note. Done. तो इनिशियली दैट एंजाइटी वाज देयर कि मैं सब कुछ कैसे पढूं, ये छूट गया, वो छूट गया. फिर आई कन्विंस माई सेल्फ कि कुछ ना कुछ तो छूटेगा ही. जितना मैं पढ़ा है एटलीस्ट आई शुड बी वेरी थॉरो इन दैट. So that was one of the mistake which was continuously doing, which I avoided in 2019. I thought कि हर बच्चा जो एग्जाम देने आ रहा है उसने पूरी दुनिया नहीं पढ़ी होगी. Everyone has their own limit.
Right.
So I will also focus on certain books, certain notes, and I'll stick to last moment and I'll revise again and again and again.
Okay. So that's one thing. So also, ma'am, you are from Odisha, but you got Maharashtra cadre. I don't know if I should be asking you this or not, but are you happy with the cadre or you wanted your home cadre?
No, Maharashtra was my first option, so I chose this cadre. My husband got actually to Mumbai, and so we decided that we'll apply. So when you fill up the DAF form, you are not even given the means.
Right.
So you actually don't know what will happen. It was just we thought कि चलो महाराष्ट्र पहला ऑप्शन दे देते हैं. किसको पता था that we will get it.
Right.
So that was luck. But I did not fill up, and thank God I did not. That year Odisha had no seat available. So
Okay.
even if I had have been thrown into some other zone, so it would have been difficult. So it's
Right.
God's grace. Absolutely.
So, ma'am, Amravati, as CU Amravati, is it your first independent posting?
No, we usually are first posted as sub-divisional magistrate. I was sub-divisional magistrate and project officer in Dahanu, Palghar. That was my first assignment, independent assignment.
Okay. So, how was that experience?
That was a great experience. We in Maharashtra are posted at both. We look after the revenue side as sub-divisional magistrate, and the developmental side we are posted as project officer of Integrated Tribal Development Project (ITDP). So we are responsible for the development of the tribal people in those districts where it is heavily tribal population is there.
Mhm.
So I used to get both the exposure. I was involved actively in land acquisition projects of Mumbai Vadodara and many other highway projects. And at the same time, I was responsible for the tribal development, their education, their livelihood. So it was a good mix and a very interesting field to work in both the sectors. And working with the tribal community was something when you start preparing for IAS services, you actually want to do this developmental work. So it was a good experience.
Okay, and now in Amravati, ma'am, you are working with SHG women specifically. What initiatives you have taken? I wanted to know about that, especially about their
As executive officer in Maharashtra, Jilla Parishad is a three Panchayati Raj system. So you have nearly 17 departments under you.
Hmm.
So self-help groups comes as one of the verticals which I head. We have education, water and sanitation, animal husbandry, agriculture. You name a subject, it's there under me, where we have HODs of all this department who work for the rural areas. So all the rural areas of the district, anything related to health, education, Gram Panchayat is dealt by Jilla Parishad. So one of the vertical is livelihood opportunities for women, and that is done through self-help groups. Umed, we have a Umed scheme in Maharashtra. Here we are specifically trying to empower the women. I have done one. We are trying to do is basically when we talk about SHG products, one of the basic things we talk about is their marketing, their branding,
right.
their product very organic, very sustainable, made with a lot of love. This woman actually put their heart in the products they make. And what I want is to put them on the state map, India map, and the global map. So how we are going forward with it. So basically, we are creating a mall over here. We are in touch with some designers from NID, and we are coordinating with them for branding, premium branding of our products, select products, which we will then launch. We are creating a name and logo for this packaging so that it puts them in the the market where
Market.
it's identifiable. So that is what we are planning. Second is individual entrepreneurship. I have a woman in Amravati right now. There are many women which I gave them a chance to do catering services. They were homemakers. They were cooks basically. So I decided that whenever we have any official functions, so I'll call this woman to cook. So in one of the functions, I called them up. So they got an exposure that they can cater to 100 people. Then this woman went on to Mumbai, where Mumbai mein we have SHG exhibitions. There the woman got a second prize for she did a sale of 4.5 lakhs in 10 days.
Oh God.
That and then she came back. I asked her to get your own catering ka saman. She bought catering ka saman. Now she gets all catering orders of all the government offices. She's so happy. She's so energized. She's so confident. It feels so proud that you could, bring about that change in one woman's life. And she has inspired so many now.
And
So many.
she must have employed also few in her team.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, there are women who are working, and now when slowly her catering service expands, then we'll have, because gharguti, which you say home cooked food, that would at affordable rates, and then with the women self-help groups, it's a huge hit. So it's a great thing.
It's in huge demand also, especially in tier 1 cities. All
Yeah.
of this. Okay, ma'am, you were talking about SHG products. You didn't mention what products specifically the females of Amravati's are working, which you are, giving marketing and branding.
So basically, lot of home grown products. There is a sevalia, we say it's noodles. They're atta noodles. They are made of rava noodles. There are pasta which is made out of this noodles. This atta. They are making palak, tomato, all kinds of vegetables. They make beautiful pastas which are very healthy. So the healthy version which is available in markets which I get in Bombay at around 250 and 300 rupees for 200, 300 grams. They're selling it at 50 rupees. And I have all these products at my home. I have a small child, so I feed him all this. It's yummy. It's really good. And there are varieties of papad they make, which is different and very Vidarbha area of Maharashtra, no? Amravati, which is a part of Vidarbha
Yes.
area. It's known for its झणझणीत, ज्याला आपण म्हणतो. It's like, how do I say? It's very spicy. So the spice, the flavor of this place. So that is one of the products. Then we have a lot of organic products. I have a list of 23 items, so I am not able to
There was
recall. There's wood apple pickles, and then there are lot many mushroom chocolates some women are making. There
mushroom
are
chocolate.
bamboo products. Yeah, mushroom chocolate is a new innovation this women have done. And then chickies, lot of varieties of chickies. So a lot of products like that.
Okay, ma'am. So you were saying that you are creating a mall. I just wanted to know, this would be my last on that part. Are you trying to, you know, take them through e-commerce platform also, or it will be mostly offline?
No, no. Now it's the world of e-commerce, so they have to be onboarded. Already Maharashtra has an onboarding on an e-commerce platform called Umed Mart. So we are onboarding all on that. Certain bamboo products we have which are beautiful. We are trying to onboard them on Amazon. That is also a state level, and we are pushing for that. So all the e-commerce websites we are pushing our products. Once we get this branding, get it patented and trademarked, we will pushing all our products on the on the Umed Mart, which is the online mart of state, and also on all the e-commerce platforms which we have. We have to ensure the quality. One of the biggest issue in this e-commerce platform is to ensure a uniform quality. So that we are focusing. Once that is achieved, we on all e-commerce platform.
Okay, and ma'am, about the education, like since Amravati is also mostly rural and a bit tribal area, so what is the biggest challenge in rural education? And you yourself have overcome few financial hardships. So how do you ensure that education and healthcare reach underprivileged communities in Amravati?
So recently the AACR report has come out for Maharashtra, for India, and for Amravati as well. So the performance of Amravati was not very up to the mark, and after COVID, I have seen it dip very badly. So just today we had a meeting of all the education department along with some very active teachers. So today we plan to launch a mission. So focusing basically on FLN, which is a part of the National Education Program, Foundation Literacy and Numeracy. So what happens in Jilla Parishad, we have around in the district 1500, more than 1500 schools which are there under me, where more than 1 lakh students study. Jilla Parishad schools are limited to class 1 to class 5. Some schools are there till class 8. Very few schools we have which are till class 12. So you understand the foundation of a child is being made at Jilla Parishad schools. If it is not strong, child will not flourish in his career, no. So that's why I feel that foundation of the children has to be very strong. For that, we are creating now district teams for Marathi, English, and maths. This district team will prepare a complete lesson plan day wise for the complete year, and we will be monitoring quarterly. We'll be ensuring that quarterly the child achieves what is its achievement target as per NEP, because it's very clear, the guidelines are very clear. So this monitoring mechanism has to be strengthened. We are strengthening that, and we'll ensure we'll have a baseline survey in by March. And in the summer vacations, which will ensure we'll have a plan. And this first year of our mission, we will try to improve that baseline to a certain target. So that is what we are focusing on education. Melghat area is the tribal area in Maharashtra, in Amravati specifically, and there we have the problem of tribal children having their own language. So Korku is the language the tribal children speak. The script is the same as Marathi, but the pronunciation and the words are different. So that is what we're focusing now, that we will try to make them study in their own language so that they grasp the words and letters easily. That we will be focusing. In healthcare, most important part is the tribal area, which is a hilly area, non-accessible. So our focus, we already have a Mission 28 is one of the flagship project which has become very successful in reducing the IMR and MMR in the Melghat region, which has come nearly to state average. It was very high. Now we'll be focusing on the low birth weight of children. So we are starting a new mission. We are launching it in 2 months. We'll focus on that. So yes, health and education in the rural areas is a very, very sensitive topic, and in tribal areas specifically. So we are focusing more on that. Hope so. Next year, if we ever talk, I'll be with you with the results so that it can be a better discussion.
Right. Right now, you mentioned the Melaghat 28. I think we recently covered 28 Melaghat 28 mission or for our story. Yeah, I think we talked with the collector, I guess. I think.
Saurabh Katiyar.
It's Saurabh Katiyar. Yes, I remember the name. One of my colleague did actually. Okay, ma'am. So, lastly, transfer is part of your job. You'll be at some point of time you'll be transferred from Amravati. So how you want that people of Amravati remember you, and how you want to remember this posting, if you can, some.
Throughout the field, field posting of an IAS officer, I feel that Chief Executive Officer Jilla Parishad is one of those postings where you get the chance to make maximum impact in people's life. I am directly responsible for so many important verticals of a complete district. As a collector, you do a land and revenue and law and order. That is your major operation. But as chief executive officer, I am the implementing agency for so many things. So when I leave this place, we always used to study while preparing कि जब आप एक जगह को छोड़ के जाओ ना, जैसा आप आए थे ना, उससे कहीं गुना ज्यादा सुंदर और बेहतर बना के जाओ. So I hope so people remember me at least for one certain aspect कि मैम आई थी, मैम ने ये चेंज करा, and that has till 5 years, 10 years, it is giving us results. So in any of the verticals, if I'm able to do that, that will be one of my biggest achievement, because there are so many IAS officers whose name I see on the board, and people come and tell कि मैम जब थी ना तो हमने ये करा था and आज तक बढ़िया रहा.
Right.
So that is to be remembered. And how I want to remember this place is, this place gave me my child. My baby boy was born here. So it is the biggest gift which I have right now. So this will be very warm. This place will always have a very warm place in my heart.
Yeah, obviously. But after one more question, I want to ask, now that you have a child also, has it become difficult to manage this job, because it's very demanding job? So your expression says it all.
I crave and wait for the weekend to come, but the weekends also there is some other meeting, some other. I go to office at 10:30. I see my child 1 hour in the morning. I come for lunch for half an hour. I see him then, and I come back in the evening at around 7:30 to 8 o'clock when he is about to sleep. So the whole day I get 4 hours. So that mom guilt is so strong right now that I am not able to see how he is developing the whole day. No, when I come back, I learn that he has learned to wave today. So when I go change my clothes also, when I come back from office, I want to change in 2 minutes, because I just want to run and just be there. And whenever I come back home, he's always there standing at the gate waiting for me. Time is now. And he would suddenly come and jump and hug. So whatever is the whole day ka trauma na stress, it just goes away. But the job is demanding, so every time you feel ki are you doing justice to the boy and the job or not. But then I thought it's a passing phase. I think so every woman who has become a mother, who is working, be it an IAS officer or in corporate sector, any sector, she is doing a wonderful job, and it's tough, and we are all managing, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, ma'am, it was really nice having you here, and I'm really thankful that you could take out this time. I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
We are wrapping up this conversation for now, but stay tuned for the next part, where we'll dive into Ms. Sanjita Mohapatra's journey as an IS officer in the field. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the upcoming video. Thank you for watching.